Welcome to A New Breed of Golf Live. Michael Breed here, excited to help you improve your game, and obviously excited to help you with any questions that you've got regarding your golf swing or your short game, putting, whatever it is. We can do everything here in the studio. A quick reminder, you know what it is. It's our blessed poker chip ball markers. Gibbsy's going to pull up what they look like. This is the blue version right here, but we've got them in different colors: black, red, green. We've got all of those poker chips for you. Excited to be able to get those to you. They're $6. That includes shipping and handling from Elf Ducharme, and also, well, yeah, Uncle Sam. There you go. There are the ball markers there, and those are what they come in. If you're interested in getting any of the ball markers, send an email to me at anewbreedofgolf@michaelbreed.com, and then I will get Elf Ducharme to put those together for you. And I sign every card that we send. I send a nice little note to everybody that gets in. So if you want in, get those emails to me. We've got a new shipment coming in, so we're going to be ready for the onslaught as we start to prepare for the season that is. And everybody's all fired up. Tiger Woods was out at Southern Hills. If you didn't get a chance to listen to A New Breed of Golf on Sirius XM, we spoke to Kerry Cosby, who's the longtime director of golf at Southern Hills, and had a chance to, who caddied for Tiger also, too. By the way, his son was out there in the group as well, caddying for Rob McNamara, Tiger's very close friend. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to that, you can get the app on SiriusXM. Just go to the App Store, get the SiriusXM app, and you can listen on demand whenever you want to the show. It was a really cool interview and obviously gets us all fired up for the PGA Championship that's about 3 weeks away. Now, let me introduce you to the behind-the-scenes guys, Greg Ducharme and Steve Gibbs. They are the individuals that are there. They are. There's Gibbsy with the hat. There's Greg Ducharme. Yep. Excited to be able to answer any questions that you've got. They'll go into Greg. Greg will read them to me. Gibbsy will cut the cameras, and we're off. Now, today, and Gibbsy, if you could, give me a camera one shot, if you could. Now, what you can see is this is a little device that I have come up with. It's the Breed Bar on steroids. This arm moves, and pretty cool. We can do some cool things with this, but I want to talk to you specifically using this on how to improve your wedge play. And basically the reason why your wedge play is inconsistent, unpredictable, is because you haven't thought about the launch angles. And so what I want to talk to you about is why launch angle is so important, how you're able to control the launch angle, and why on a shot, and we have set up here a 65-yard shot, why maybe you don't understand how to put more spin on the ball, or you don't quite understand how to be consistent with the distance that the ball is traveling. Let me show you what I'm talking about. What I see so many times, everybody comes to the academy, they talk to me about how do I get better? I say wedge, 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 wedge. Improve your wedge play. I promise you're going to shoot lower scores. Hitting the ball better is fun, but improving your wedge play is really going to help you lower those scores. Now, I'm going to show you why you struggle with controlling distance and why you struggle with predictability with this wedge play. So what I have here is I have a 58-degree wedge, and I'm hitting a shot to the 65. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump this club. I'm going to add loft into this club, and I'm going to affect the launch angle, and you're going to see some very interesting things show up. So there's my shot there. And what you can see is I actually hit that pretty good. Come on up to the front. I'm going to explain to you some things that go on there. So I hit that 65. I was trying to hit that 65. I hit that 64. It spun back to 63. Spin rate went over 10,000. But here's what I want you to understand why it's so difficult for you to control distance predictably. Yeah, sometimes you're going to hit it close like that. And sometimes it's going to go flying over, or it's going to be well short. You're typically not spinning the ball the way I'm going to spin the ball, and partially because of the golf ball that you're using. And I'm not trying to advertise for Titleist here. What I'm saying is that you don't play the same golf ball shot to shot, round to round. Whatever you find, you play. Whatever you were given, you play. And I would highly recommend changing that mindset. But here's what you're going to see. That club head speed was just a little over 67 miles an hour. And the ball speed there was just a little under 62. And so what happens on that shot is I have my golf club traveling faster than the golf ball is traveling. That's why my spin rate went to over 10,000. And in order for you to become predictable with what you're doing with your wedges, what you want to do is you want to be able to get this club to travel at about the same speed as the golf ball itself. And maybe the golf ball goes fractionally faster. So if I take that same shot, and that launch angle, by the way, on that one was about 37 degrees. It was 36.7 to be exact. So about 37 degrees. Now, when I hit this shot, I'm going to flight this a little bit lower, okay? And watch what'll happen. So I flight that a little bit lower. That golf ball there now spinning back to the ball. So I still have spin. That one had 9,200, so under 10,000. That ball spun back. You could see that one spun back actually farther. Even though it had less spin, it spun back farther than the shot prior. That flew 68.6 and it drew back to 66.7. So it came back 2 yards. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. See the club head speed right there? That's about 60 miles an hour. And the ball speed there is at about 65 miles an hour. Now, when we launch this thing under 30, which I'm going to get to in a second, what we see is that the club head speed and the ball speed are sort of identical. They're not identical, but they're nearly similar, nearly the same. And if they're not, what you will tend to get is a ball speed that's just fractionally faster than the club head, typically under 10%. If you get 10%, great, but it's typically under 10%. Now, you can see that launched at 29 degrees, 28.9. So call it 29 degrees. And what happens is when I get to 30 or less, and I try to get under 30, so when you get 30 or less, all of a sudden, ball speed will move faster than club head speed. And when you have that, now you have a degree of predictability. Also, too, by the way, the ball is not spending so much time in the air. We don't have an ability to clock the amount of time. And Greg, maybe what we could do is put a trace on these golf balls so that we can see apexes and all that. What you can see, that apex there is 39 feet on a shot that's 65 yards, and I hit it 67. But most importantly, what I got there was a launch at 29. So I'm under my 30 desire. Now, this is where we get into the new breed bar. So if I take this thing and I spin this arm out like this, and I spin this other arm out like this, and I create this little, look at that. How cool is that? Okay. Yeah, I know. This is what we do. We're bored in here, so we just try to figure stuff out. But what we have done now, this is 36 inches off the ground. So in order for me to get, and this is a fun thing that Greg and I did over the last few days, maybe more, maybe it took us a little longer than a few days to figure out the cosine and the sine and the hypotenuse and then what we figured out was to keep this under a 30-degree launch angle, my golf ball has to be 60 inches from something that is 36 inches high. Okay, so when you start thinking about it, 3 feet high and then 60 inches back. Okay, very simple for you. And if you go 60 inches back, that is 5 feet. So 5 feet back, 3 feet up. And all of a sudden, when I hit this shot now, if I do what I want, it will be under the 30-degree launch angle. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn on the V1, and then I'm going to explain to you how to do this. So this is going to be really cool. So I got my 58. I haven't changed my 58 right here. So there's my shot. And that ball there launched at, so come on up to the front here for me. That ball there launched at 24.2. So I was making sure that I got it underneath this little gate that I've got set up here. And what happened was my club head speed was about 65. My ball speed was at about 67. So that's what I wanted to have. Spin rate there is about 9,000. So I still got that ball to draw back. That drew back about a yard. Now, come on over here and let's take a little look at what I did differently. And this is always fun to see. So here's my shaft lean right there. It's at about 76 or 7 degrees. Okay, so from 90, I've moved that forward about 14 degrees. Now, it's not a 1-to-1, which is the fun part about this. 58 degrees minus 14 degrees is not 24 degrees. And the reason why it goes lower than that is because my strike point is a little bit lower on the club face. So we start talking about strike points there, and I'm just going to walk this into camera 4 so you can see that strike point right there. And you can see if I have high strike points up here, that's when I'm hitting it up into the air. When I get the low strike points that are right in here, now all of a sudden it's flighting out a little bit lower there. Okay. Now watch what happens here. So I'm going to go back, draw a line here, and then I'm going to show you for the verification that this ball not only did what I wanted it to do, but it went underneath. So you can see the ball is right here, well underneath that, right there, well underneath that. And if I go sort of along here to this, right about there, as I'm a little bit lower, that's 25 degrees, that's 24.2. So they're virtually identical. And what you can see is that it goes underneath there. And now all of a sudden, my ball speed and my club head speed are almost identical. Now, why does that give you more control? Well, here's the deal. If I was taking my club and my ball were attached, let's say I was playing lacrosse, and I moved this club at 60 miles an hour and then threw the ball would now leave at 60 miles an hour. And the reason why you tend to come up short on all your wedges is that doesn't work if I launch it up into the air like that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this back. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. If I launch this thing, when I launch this thing above 30, what will end up happening is I need to now move this club faster than the ball speed in order for it to get the distance that I want it to get to. So my ball speed needs to be somewhere around 65 miles an hour. That's somewhere around there. Well, in order for me to get this to 65, and I'm going to try to do this again, and I couldn't do that, but this is a very good example. So this went 55 yards. But watch what happened. I moved my club at 66. So before, if I move it at 65, it goes roughly 65 or 66 in the ball speed, and I get roughly 65 or 66 in my distance. This one, I move at 66 with the club head speed, but the ball speed drops to 56. That's outside of that 10% range. And all of a sudden, my golf ball goes 55 yards, and I come up 10 yards short. And you sit there and you say to yourself, why am I a bad wedge player? And it's because you don't understand the launch angle. This launch angle went to 39 degrees. So I brought that launch angle up like what, 10 degrees? And all of a sudden, I lose total distance. Now, I'm going to go back here again, try to do what I did before, which is, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to take this club and I'm going to hit my shot, flight this thing down a little bit. So that's flighted down. Now it spins back. So now look at what happens. So now this is awesome. That club head speed went 64 miles an hour. So it actually went slower than the one before. But because I had less loft on it, I'm going to get to this in a second, my ball speed goes up to 65, goes up 10 miles an hour. My distance, that one went 69 in the air. So I actually hit it farther than by 65 that I was trying to get. But I had a little spin on that, 67. So it comes back. I'm 6 feet behind the hole. Not a bad shot. Look at my launch angle, 28. So that goes from 39 to 28. And as that starts to change, with a predictable club head speed, now I get a predictable distance. And what you'll see is club head speed 65, club head speed 64, ball speed 65. It's easy. Now what we got to do is we got to figure out, well, how do you do that? I know I can hear you. How do you do that? It's not magic. All right. Here's the way this works. We talk about wrist angles all the time and how wrist angles affect club face, how wrist angles affect shot shape, how wrist angles affect launch angles and spins and all that other stuff. Well, here's the deal. When you make a backswing, your wrist is going to set like this. And when it sets like this, now all of a sudden, I keep that. I come down where my palm is facing down to the ground. So I get this wrist angle. I keep that wrist angle. And when I keep that wrist angle, the shaft of the golf club is going to have lean to it, which is going to de-loft it. Again, you're not de-lofting this thing 25 degrees, 58, 25. In order for me to get to 28, I need to de-loft it. I'd have to have a shaft lean that's 30 degrees like that. Nobody's got it 30 degrees. It doesn't happen. But my impact point gets lower on the club face. And as my impact gets lower on the club face, now it launches out a little bit lower and has a little bit of spin to it. That's why it stops. So what we do here is when we come in here, we're taking this wrist and we're feeling the palm staying to the ground with that angle in my wrist right there. Now I hit that shot again. Let's see what we get. Come on, spin back to me. Yeah. So there you go. So that's perfect. That actually went 65 right on the spot. Pick it up. Thank you. Now look at this. Club head speed 64.6. Call it 65 just because the ball speed was spot on 65. The distance went spot on 65. My launch angle goes to 25.5 because I did what I wanted to do. And the cool part is this. If I switch clubs and go from my 58 to my 54, which is 53, and I hit this same shot, and I do the same thing that I just did with the wrist. So I go like this, and I hit that shot. So that one there, little different launch. That one 25.2 instead of 25.5. So even though I changed this by 58, 53, 5 degrees, I only got like a third of a degree, a third of whatever, not even a full degree change in the launch angle there. You knew what I was trying to say. I appreciate you understanding that. But look at what happens now. Ball speed goes to 53. Club head speed 53, ball speed 58. So that's about 10%. So that's in that works. Launch angles 25.2. That ball tracked out at 56 and rolled out to about 60. So I played a flighted shot, still had plenty of spin to stop it. It didn't come back, but it didn't run away. And that apex was about 25. So what does that mean? That means when you hit this shot, you can use literally any club that's a wedge. 58, 53. If you want to hit a 48, you can do that as well. 46, I don't care. But you have to make sure you get this wrist position in here. And I didn't hit that quite hard enough. But you're going to see again, this is another one of those shots, tracks out that apex to 22. See the apex on that? That's low. But the point is that launch angle was 24.2 degrees. So you can alter launches with various clubs. That's why you see players hitting these shots with all kinds of different lofts on the wedges, because they know how to manipulate the club face, because they know how to control wrist angles. And when you control the wrist angle, now all of a sudden you can get what you want to get out of your launch, regardless of the loft of the club. If I want a little more loft on this, well, I'm not going to get my wrist angle quite as down. And now all of a sudden, what do I get here? I get a shot that flights out the way I want. Now, this is pretty cool because what you're going to see is the spin rate on this one is going to come down. That goes to 8,000, but yet I still had spin. That thing flew 65, rolled back to 64. So I brought it back 3 feet. And look at this. This is that number that I tell you about that's inside of that 10%. and I've got a faster ball speed than club head speed. My club head speed right there is about 59. My ball speed right there is about 62. And all of a sudden, launch angle 28.4. So I'm still under 30. Now, let me go back to this little device that I set up for you. So when you take this thing, and this is an easy thing for you to use, you don't have to build this like I have. You don't have to do that. Here's what you do. You get yourself a couple of alignment sticks. You can jab them in the ground. Get yourself a string and set this up on the range. And all you're going to do, and what I would say, this is what I would say, because I did this math: 3 feet, 5 feet. Very simple. 3 feet, 5 feet. So all you're doing is you're making sure you're about 5 feet from it. And it's actually about 62 inches. I just like to nudge it to 60 because it's a little bit easier math. So 3 feet, 5 feet. And all you're doing is you're just seeing what you can do to get this ball underneath that little noodle that's flying across, or the string. That one there launched at 25. Show them that launch right there, Gibbsy, if you would, on that camera 4. There you go. So you can see the vertical launch. Here's the vertical launch right here. 25. Okay? So all I want you to do when you practice this is just work on controlling the trajectory. And when you do that, what you're going to get is you're going to get a club head speed and a ball speed that are going to be nearly the same. They're not going to be identical all the time. They're going to be nearly the same. And then you're going to have predictability in the distance, because now all of a sudden, 65 yards, I can move the club at how fast I think I need to get it to propel it to the distance that I'm trying to go. And so long as it's under 30, the ball speed and the club head speed will be about the same. And now I have control over my distance. Once you start to get where you have to move this, 10, 12% faster than the ball speed, it's completely unpredictable. Completely unpredictable. The other thing that happens is this. Let me go back to this 58. When I come into this and I have added loft, I don't have a lot of face to strike it. And that's why I hit it sort of high on the face. When I take loft off, now all of a sudden I'm introducing all of the face. And when I introduce all of the face, now I can get a low strike on the golf ball, and now I can get a predictable strike. Because if I start striking low and high and middle and low and toe and heel, now all of a sudden the energy transfer is it's not consistent. And when it's not consistent, there's no predictability. So we go back to this exact same thing that we talked about. I want you to feel like when you take the club back, you let your wrist, I don't want your wrist, Gibbsy, give me a 1 here if you would. I don't want your wrists to think about hinging this way. I want them to hinge this way. And when they hinge like that, here, now when you come down, now you have the shaft lean that you're looking for. Now you have the predictable speed. And now what you're going to get is you're going to get a shot that's going to launch out under 30. That one there that I just hit, and again, a little bit lower, overdid it a bit. And what you can see is that launch was about 23.7, apex at 24, total distance 59. So not my best shot, but here's what I can tell you. That's about a 20-footer. You know what? You stand up here, you hit this shot to 20 feet, you're going to be thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. With a little bit of practice and a little bit of trust, now all of a sudden you're going to start to develop some consistency. And the other thing that you can see is you're not really creating a high shot. That's perfect. You can see that stripe of red. There's not a lot of curve in the shot. It's pretty much at the target that I was going to. That thing turned out to be about like 4 feet to the left of that target. That's basically what I got. About 4 feet left of the target. So I'm a little left. I'm a little short. 20-footer up the hill because it's under the flag. Up the hill. And you know what? You might make a few of those. Okay. All right. Gregory, if you could, I would love to, before we get into taking some questions, get an update as to what's going on down in Mexico.
The Mexico Open at Vedanta this week. We have 5 players right now tied for the lead, and none of them are on the golf course. Jonathan Bird, John Rahm, Brendan Todd, Trey Mullinax, Bryson Nimmer. They're all at 7 under par. Scott Brown touched 7 under par earlier, but he made a bogey. He's back to 6 under, along with Andrew Novak. Those 2 players are on the golf course. Matt Wallace making a move today. He's 4 under,
nice,
for 5 under total, and tied 11th. So we have some very interesting action here. Definitely keeping a close eye on John Rahm.
Okay, and how about Kevin Na? Is he on the golf course yet?
Kevin Na, he was down at 1 under.
Yep, he started at 1.
I got to do a little scrolling to find Kevin here.
Okay, well, I'm just going to hit a few wedges then while you're scrolling there.
Well, I'll just do a little search. There he is. He's 4 under total.
He's 4 under total.
Yeah.
So he's 3 under for the day?
No, he's 1 under. No, he's 3 under for the day. Sorry, I was looking
3
at
under for the day. So he's 3 under to 4
3 under for 4 under
so
total.
making a nice little run. Okay,
yeah, that's
good.
tied 23rd in the event right there.
Good.
You're only 3 back.
The wind tends to pick up in the afternoon there.
Yeah.
So it can tend to get a little bit clumsy. All right, let's take some questions. Let's help some people out.
Okay, first one from Steve. I have been working on my 100 to 120 yard wedge shot, and I find that I'm pulling my wedge to the left about 10 to 20 yards. Any thoughts on changes needed? Thank you. Thanks from Steve.
Okay. All right, Steve. So here we go. Let me take this blessed poker chip out. Okay. So why are we pulling shots? Why do we tend to pull shots, say from 100 to 120? Now, I don't know what your normal wedge is, but that 100 to 120 is it's a wider gap. So that means that you're probably altering club head speeds. Greg, I don't know whether you can shift the short shot, if we can maybe have a superintendent give us a hole location alteration. But here's what I can tell you. First, the reason why players pull wedges is they stop the body rotation. The second reason why they do that, why they stop the rotation, is you get so confused on your target. Your target, you're thinking to yourself, well, I got to strike this perfectly to hit it the distance that I want. Your target always has to be the target. You always have to be focused on what's going out there. So give up this target and gain that target. All right. Now, in a 100 to 120, it's a partial shot again. So when we get into a partial shot again, I still want that wrist position, but I want the body to be carrying the club. So what you're going to see with the shot that I just hit, and that was a pitching wedge that I was trying to hit about 100. What did you set it at? 120?
110.
110. Okay, so about 110 that I have that. I hit that ball, went out 105. Let's go up to the front here. Yeah. So what you could see is that total distance was about 105. My start line was good. Look at my vertical launch, by the way, is 22.5. So I'm flating that out a little bit differently. But what happens is my body rotates to carry the club. And when you come through with the body rotating, you almost are going to feel like you're hitting a cut. That's what you're almost going to feel like. And so to help you with the cut, what I like to do is just start with that club face a little bit open. So we started a little bit open, and then we're going to do a little bit of a move with the body, carry the club a little bit. And now all of a sudden spin rate's pretty good. Ball starts on the line that I want. I flew that about 107, and that was just marginally left. Not a lot of curve in that shot. And it feels like it's a cut, but it doesn't cut. You're hitting a wedge. It's not going to cut. I promise you. But you're going to feel like you're hitting a cut. Body carries the club. Club face starts a little open. Hands stay pretty passive when you come through. And it'll track out a little bit lower. Again, as I said, that one launched at about 23. So it tracks out a little bit lower. It stays on line. It doesn't curve a lot. And it's not going to go to the pull side. Okay? All right.
Next from Jay Nim, is shaft lean at impact created more by hand speed or moving the hand toward the target, or more from the shift of the body to the left-hand side?
No, yes, and yes. Okay, so first of all, the hands don't go towards the target. I don't want my hands to go towards the target. My hands are going around. There is forward movement, yes, but they're going around. Your body is turning. So give me a 1 here, if you would, Gibbsy. My body is turning. So when my hands go after impact, they now go left. You see my hands disappear in my body right there? You see the club head going over to the pull side? So when I hit this shot, I'm having my body carry the handle. It's going to go to the left. But the ball isn't going to go to the left. The ball doesn't go to the left. The hands go left. The ball doesn't go to the left. Now, the next thing is the shaft lean. Yes, there is shaft lean. There's shaft lean in everything. I would even say there's shaft lean in a driver, depending upon shot you're trying to hit, okay? But I like shaft lean in everything. The areas where I don't want shaft lean would be when I'm actually, believe it or not, trying to not hit the ball. So when you're in a bunker, you're trying not to hit the ball. You're trying to go under the ball. When you're hitting a flop shot, you're trying to go under the ball. And when I'm trying to go under the ball, I want to take the club and I want to get the face so it's pointing more to the sky, so it goes right underneath like that. So I take the club. I'm going to not hit the ball. I bottom out way behind it. I let it glide along. It pops up into the air. The launch angle goes to 41 because I've added so much loft. And now I'm chucking the club head so that the shaft of the golf club through is leaning back like that. That's the only time I'm trying not to lean the shaft. I want shaft lean in everything. Ball position will also be in there. So when you start talking about shaft lean, you're always thinking about ball position, okay? Which is one of the things that you didn't include in that. But if I take these two golf balls, which right here are sort of in the insteps of my feet, and I set my club here, that has more shaft lean than when I set my club here. Even though my hands haven't changed, they're still in my thigh. When I go here, now I have more shaft lean than I have here. So we start talking about ball position. Understand that ball position in the forward and back thing, I'm going to get a little bit more shaft lean here, which is going to help me flight the ball out a little bit lower. But also, too, I want an angle of attack. And in order to get my angle of attack steeper, what I have to do there, and Gibbsy, if you can give me a 1, what I have to do there is, instead of being back here like this, I want to climb up on top of this. So I'm going to be really in here like this with the ball position back and the face on. And now here, now I hit that shot, and now that thing's going to flight out. That flighted out at about 23 degrees. So what I would say is, yeah, I'd say no, yes, yes, and I would add ball position to it, and I would feel like it was back maybe a little bit, and also you're a little bit closer to it. And do those 3 things, and you'll get this exactly the way you want it to get. You'll get the trajectory of the shot where you want it. You'll get the launch angle where you want it, and you'll start to develop a little bit of control over that distance that the ball is traveling, and also, too, what it's doing when it gets on the ground.
He's asking again, so ball position back? I may have missed that earlier.
Ball position is going to be a little bit back, but what I really prefer is standing closer, right? So I'll show you what I mean here. If I put my ball position back, so go ahead and give me a face on if you could, Gibbsy. If I put my ball position back here like this and then hit it, that's going to launch out about 27. All right. If I take my ball position and I don't move it back, but I get closer to it, so right now I'm in here, now my angle of attack gets steeper. And when my angle of attack gets steeper, now give me that, Gibbsy, give me yeah, there you go. So if my angle of attack gets steeper here, now all of a sudden what happens for me is I'm going to launch it a little bit lower without moving my ball back. So ball position is kind of middle, but I'm in close to this. And now I steepen and I hit that. And now the ball launches out. Believe it or not, that other one that I hit before launched out at 27.2. This one launched out at 26.8. So virtually identical. Identical. Okay. I know you all got that. You got to let me do that. It's in my head. We're all family now. So I need to make sure you understand we're all family. It's coming out. It is. But here's what I would tell you. It's much easier for you to get closer to a ball and hit it lower than it is for you to mess around with getting it back. But if you want to, you really want to supersize this thing, move it back, stand closer, this thing's going to come out and it is going to be low. And there are shots that you hit with that intent of really hitting a low shot. But my preference, if you're going to do one, I would rather have you stand closer than shift it to the trail side. Okay. All right.
This one's from Van. What is the best way to size yourself up to the ball? Distance from the ball, the length of the club choking up or not?
Okay. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. And I'll show you how this thing can work maybe a little bit later on this. But here's the way I like to do it. Give me a 1 if you would. What I like to do is I like to become extremely aware of what's going on in my feet. So Gibbsy, maybe take a 7 and give me a close-up of these beautiful Tour Alphas, by the way. And what I want you to see is that when I lean out here, what you can see is pay attention to the, no, you got to go down a little bit more and then zoom in on the feet. So drop down, go right in on the feet. Send it in there close. Good. There you go. Beautiful. Okay, now watch. I'm going to put so what you're going to see is you're going to see this part of my shin. It's going to shoot forward, and all of a sudden the heel goes up into the air. And I'm really putting a lot of pressure now right here on my feet. If I am back here like this, now all of a sudden my toes are up into the air. My heel is pushing way down into that turf. And what I want to do is I want to feel like my weight distribution is right in the arches of my feet right here. So what I do is I like to rock. Now you can back out of that if you would and just go right to camera 1. So just jump to it. Yeah, there you go. Great. So what I like to do is I like to feel this going on, and then I like to settle. So I go, okay, what does it feel like when I'm way out here? I feel like a ski jumper, like I'm way out there over my skis looking down the hill. And then over here, I feel like I'm getting pushed by wind right in my face. That's lifting up my toes. And then here, I like to kind of feel, okay, now I feel stable here. And so at that point, now I want my arms to hang out just a little bit, sort of under my chin, depending upon the club. I like to get here, and that gives me my distance to the ball. So what I like to do is I like to establish that way. And then you can do some varying things with a device like this. Maybe you've got some alignment rods that are in your bag, and you can set alignment rods up and you can draw on the rods. So let me show you what I'm talking about with that, right? So I've got a couple of alignment sticks here. What I would do is I would take an alignment stick, I'd put it on the top side of the golf ball like that. And then I have this is going to come out this way. And I might, when I get into my pitching wedge, I might draw a line right on the top here that tells me that's where my toes are. You're not going to hit a golf ball from here, but it's going to tell you how far away from the ball you are so that it's consistently the same. I like to do that with this device that I've got up here as well. Again, just take a Sharpie, draw some lines on it. It's very, very easy to do that. And then you'll start to see it in your mind's eye. So that's one of the ways that I like to do. I like to feel it in my weight distribution. And then from there, maybe even get other devices and draw on them. Okay. Okay.
This is not a serious question, but I think we have to address it. Chip says it must be chilly in the studio today. So can we get a temperature update?
Listen. Wait, hold on a second. Look at this thing. Chip, I'm going to ask you this. If you had one of these, wouldn't you wear it? Now look, no. This is a beautiful shirt, but this is mighty handsome, isn't it? Yeah. Thanks to FootJoy. Let me tell you what the temperature is in the studio right now. Temperature is 66 degrees. We're at 66 degrees in the studio. And, when you have all these lights and you have all these things going on and computers and everything, you gotta keep it a bit on the frosty side. So we're not, I'm not chattering. My teeth aren't chattering, but it's cold. And yeah, it's beautiful. And by the way, if you want one, head on over to footjoy.com and you can get it there. I'm telling you, you're going to be the envy of all your friends. Yeah. And you go, you know what? I got one just like Breed. Fantastic. Okay, go ahead.
My teeth are chattering. Tyler says, enjoying math class today. What would be the ideal angle for a 100-yard shot?
Oh, Tyler. Here's the deal. There is no ideal angle because not every 100-yard shot is the same. And so what I mean by that is that if I have a 100-yard shot and I have a back flag, well, I might chip one. So I might take a little pitching wedge and just kind of flight one in here. So stand a little closer and kind of flight one out like that. So that ideal angle there is probably like that one there had a 36 apex and a 22. If I've got 100, but it's a front flag, so I've got a big, huge bunker and I got to get over that. Now what I want to do is I want to attack that flag from the back side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a shot that's going to go a little bit higher, but it's going to have more spin. And so I want it to come back this way. So I might take my 53, fan the face open just a little bit so I can get a little bit more spin on it. And then I'm going to go at it. Now watch this. This one's going to land, and then it's going to come back to the flag towards me. So I increased my spin rate. That one was up at 95.50. You can see 95.47. So it depends on the distance of the shot that you're trying to hit it. I don't want to hit 100-yard shots to back hole locations that go 100. And when I have a front hole location, I want to hit it past that and bring it back. Now that one there only went 93, but you understand the purpose and the idea. What you're going to do is you're going to play behind a 100-yard shot with a front flag, and you're going to play in front of a 100-yard shot with a back flag. And then if you have a 100-yard shot that's in the middle of the green, now this is where you're going to attack this in all kinds of different ways. And it depends on the green itself. Is it an uphill putt from behind that flag? Then get behind it. If it's an uphill putt from in front of it, then get in front of it. And what you need to kind of work through is where's the hole location? And in that hole location, where's my uphill putt? And so that may mean that your 100 is really, you need a 105, or your 100, you need a 95. Now, I know you might be saying, well, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. You might not be able to hit the shot the way you want, but you can think about it the proper way. Hey, this is 100. I don't want to hit this 100. I want to hit this 95. Oh, hey, this is 100. I want to hit this 105. It's a rare time that you actually have 100 that you want to hit actually 100. And so, and the reason why I tell you that is I want you to be thinking about there's not all shots are the same. Not all, like you get to 150 and you go, I take my 150. And today maybe, but down the road, you might be going, well, you know what? That's a 150 to a back flag. I want 145 out of this. I don't want to hit that thing 150. And so I need you to understand the way the game is tacted and thinking about what's in front, what's behind, where's the property tilting, where's the undulation, where's the uphill putt, all that stuff. You got to put all that stuff into the database and then kind of mix it up a little bit and then go and hit your shot. Go ahead.
Next from Sean. Any idea on how to prevent hitting it heavy? When I try to knock it down, I'm more likely to hit it heavy and fat.
Okay. So the heavy shot, the fat shot, that all comes from this body not rotating. You may feel like you need to move forward. It's not rotating. So let me show you what we're going to do here. We're going to take my breed board, my breed bar, bring this thing over here like this. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to twist this out of the way, and I'm going to lay it down like that. I'm going to take this one, pop this thing off like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on here like this. And I'm going to lay this down like this. And then I'm going to take this. I know. I'm going to actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this and go like this. Get this out of the way here like this. And then tilt it. Okay. Now, so now I've got a shot, and I want to make sure that I'm moving forward and not hitting this fat. So I'm going to set this thing outside of my hip. And when I hit this shot, what I want to feel is I want to feel like I'm going to rotate up. No, just go back to that two. There you go, Gibbsy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate up, and I'm going to feel like I'm getting up to that. Okay. So we go here, Now what you see here, stay on me here, Gibbsy. Don't jump to that. So what you can see now is that my body is up on this here. Okay. If I'm hitting it fat and I'm going like this, now there's all this space between my hip, my chest, and this swim noodle. When I start to go like this, rotate and move, now all of a sudden my trail foot is light, my lead leg is heavy, and I'm up here by this swim noodle. So what you want to do is, and you can do this with an alignment stick, I just can't. You take an alignment stick, you go out and you stab it into the ground like this. Now this thing is sitting up into the air, and now you're going to feel that. Or you go down to Lowe's, Home Depot, and you can build this thing. It's entertaining, by the way. This thing is entertaining. I'm telling you. It's hours of fun. Okay? All right. Go ahead. What do you got, Gregory?
This is from Andrew. Any tips for partial wedge shots off of hard pan and or soft lies like pine straw?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge that you all have is hitting the ball first. That's probably the most challenging thing that you have in the game, is hitting the ball first. And so when you get on hard pan, you kind of are afraid of it and you hit it thin and it runs too far, or you kind of hit behind it and then it bounces up and it hits it then and it kind of ends up in unforseen, like, don't. That's I gotta go chase that. We don't want that. So here's what I would tell you. What I would tell you is, one, I like to get closer to the golf ball. But what I also want you to do is take the club face and open it up, because when you get closer to the golf ball, what you do is you lower that launch angle. Well, that hard pan is going to lower that launch angle anyway for you. So if you take the club face and you open up that club face now, so now I'm in here close, but I have the face open. So let's say I'm going back to that 65-yard shot. Will you zip that back over to that 65-yard shot for me? So let's say I'm going back to that 65-yard shot, but I'm on hard pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get closer, but I want to get some trajectory. Now my trajectory is going to go up here. I'm not on hard pan, but my trajectory is going to go up here. I'm opening up the club face. I'm getting a little bit closer. So now I've got more of the toe of the club in the ground, but it's not going to dig. I'm gripping down. This is with actually my 53-degree wedge, but because I'm opening it up, it's really turning into like a 57 or 58. So I'm in here like this, and now I do the exact same thing. I rotate through. What's going to happen is that this actually turned out absolutely perfectly. So I was trying to hit that 65 yards. And now what happened was I opened that up. I made that swing. And now I'm back to this. Club head speed went to 64.8. So call it 65. And this ball speed went up to 64.9. Call it 65. My golf ball flew 69 and it rolled back to 67. Spin rate right around 8,900. But all you're going to do when you're on that hard pan is you're going to take the not your most lofted club, but the next most lofted club. So if you're a 56 player and you don't have a 60, then you're going to go to a 52. If you're a player that's a 60 and you play a 56 and you've got a 50, well, then you're going to go to a 50. You're going to take the one that's not the most lofted, but it's sort of your next most lofted, not the one you're using for the sand, but the next most lofted out of there. So you're going to open that up a little bit. That's going to allow you to swing a little harder. You get a little bit more club head speed, but because you've opened up the club face, you're not going to have that transference of energy be the same. And ultimately, the club head itself and the ball, they will be virtually identical. And now you have predictability. Okay. Stand in there a little closer, open up that club face.
Next is from Brian. Where should the hands and arms be in the backswing from address to the top?
So I'm assuming then we're talking about a regular, like a golf swing. We're not talking about an in-between shot or anything like that, right? So maybe we're going to let's just take a 7-iron just because. So here's what happens. You get set up. Your arms are hanging down on an angle. So camera one here. Yeah. So my arms are hanging down and they're not quite perpendicular to the ground. They're hanging out a little bit, but let's just say they're perpendicular to the ground. They're not, but let's just say the arms are perpendicular to the ground, just so that you can get an understanding. When you take the club up, now your arms are doing different things. your lead arm is on a flatter angle than it was at address. And your trail arm is, well, now it's in a different spot because it's bent. So my trail arm is bent. My forearm is probably here or here, but it's not here. So at address, they're hanging out, but I don't take my arm and put it in that position there because it's going to be about like that or that. So the arms are different. Very complicated way of saying this. So here's the way I want you to think about this though. When you take the arms back, I want you to feel like you're going to take your hands and put them above your shoulder. So if you take your hands and you put them above your trail shoulder, you don't need to worry about what your arms are doing. They'll be in the right position. So they get here, put them above the shoulder, and now they're in an excellent spot. And then when you come through, you put them above that other shoulder, you're going to be fine. So don't really think about your arms. Think about your hands and where your hands are going to be. Put them above your trail shoulder in the backswing. You're going to be fine. Okay?
This is from Dan. I have a tendency to clip the ball. Almost seems like I hit the middle of the ball. Yesterday, I hit a 54-degree wedge. It went 160 when I typically hit it 100.
Yeah. So that means you hit that one really thin. And the reason why you hit that thin is because your chest is coming out of that shot. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to what you're doing with your chest. Okay. When you start to come through the shot and your chest comes up, and this is valuable in everything. So you hear this all the time. People will say, well, your head, you lifted your head up. Heads don't lift up. Chests lift up. Give me a one here. If I come through this shot and my chest stays right where it is, my head goes like that. You ever see anybody swing through like this? No, it's comical. What happens is chests come up. So when you come through, if your chest comes up, your chin will actually dive into your chest that way. So what you want to do is you want to feel your chest staying down over the ball. So you focus on getting your chest facing, almost like there's a light coming out of your chest right here, and it's down to the ground. Let's take this. Imagine that coming off my side, go back to that one shot if you would. So imagine coming off of my spine here is this, and when I put my chest down, now all of a sudden it's pointing down like you're pouring water out of your chest. It's going to come out of your shoulders. It's all going to flow down that way. Okay. So you come into this with your chest down. And when you come in with your chest down, now what you're going to get is you're going to get a strike where you hit the ball first and you get some ground. You're not going to take a divot. You're going to get your chest down, take the proper divot, and now you're going to be fine. When your chest comes up, you're not taking a divot. You hit it thin, you don't take a divot. You get your chest down, you hit it solidly, and you take a divot. So pay attention to your chest and what it's doing, not your cabeza. Chest.
This is from MJP. Any tips for short chips? I tend to fear of hitting too much, and I end up all over the place. Okay. Skull, chunk, etc.
Short chips. One of my favorite topics of conversation. So we're going to go back to a pitching wedge. So here's what I think happens to people when they have chips. Your club head comes in with inconsistent loft. Remember I talked to you before about when we start to throw the club and we're inconsistent with the delivery of the loft of the club, and now all of a sudden we lose predictability. Well, I think what happens is one moment you get in here and you're hitting a little chip shot. What do we got, like 20?
Yes.
So we have a little chip shot here and we go and we hit that shot there and it comes out. It's a pretty good shot. I kind of like it. That's up there, a couple feet. And then the next time you come in here and you go, wait a second, I don't know. And then you kind of do that and you give it a little sclerosis. And then the next thing you know, it's over the green and down into trouble. This is very simple. What you're going to do is you're going to hold this like a putter. And then what I want you to feel is that right wrist position, your trail wrist position at address. never changes. And so when I'm hitting a little chip, what I like to do is I like to hit it with the palm of my right hand. So I set it up like this, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go boom. So this gets in here like this. And now I hit it with the palm of my right hand. And now I have some predictability. I'm able to come through with a strike because I'm not altering angles here. I'm not chucking that way. I've got predictability in what I'm carrying into this. And all of a sudden, I'm going to get golf balls that are going to kind of look like the one before. They're not going to be identical, but they're going to kind of look like the one before. And that's when you're starting to be able to have confidence in what you're doing. If you are bringing this club in with varying lofts in any part of your game, but particularly wedges, chipping, pitching, you're not going to have any confidence whatsoever, because you're going to get varying launch angles, you're going to get varying spin rates, varying ball speeds, varying carry distances, unpredictable rollout distances, and you're never going to know whether you've hit it too hard or not hard enough. So hold it like a putter, focus on the angle of the trail hand, and then the palm, and then you hit that shot just like that. That one was not my best strike, but I got about 6 feet. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. All right, next one.
This is from Ethan. I'm going through a grip change, trying to strengthen my grip. Any tips on what the progression should be? Right now, it's really hard for me to feel where the club face is during a swing.
You know, it's a line that I tell my students a lot, and it's something, Greg, you obviously know. We talk about this all the time, and that is the walk of 1,000 miles begins with a step. And so you're on this road, and you want to know, like I'm working on recovering from a little bit of a knee issue here, okay? And I say to my PT all the time, hey, what can I expect? And he goes, well, everybody's different. Everybody's different. I had a woman that I worked with, this is years ago, back when I was working at Deepdale. So this is sort of in the early 90s. And she was working on a grip change. And it took us 4 weeks for her to get comfortable with that grip. It was 4 weeks. And I saw her twice a week, 4 weeks to just get comfortable with the grip. Sent her home, gave her the molded stuff, all that. Everybody's different. You see somebody else, and it may take them, an hour. Everybody's different. But what I would say is this. You have to believe in what you're doing, and whatever change you're making, whether it's the grip or your golf swing or whatever, you have to believe in what you're doing, and then you have to continue to do it until you get it done. This is like what I tell my kids when it comes to homework. Don't tell me you studied for an hour. Tell me that you studied until you knew what you were doing, so that when you went and took the test, that you were 95% certain on every single question that you were going to get it right. And I don't care if that takes you an hour, if it takes you 2 hours, if it takes you 2 minutes. I don't care. I just want you to feel confident that 95% of the time, you're going to be able to get the right answer. And the same thing is true with what you're doing with your golf. I don't care how long it takes. I just want to make sure that you have a way so that every time you do this, you put your hands on there, that 95% of the time you feel, okay, I got this. This is exactly where I want it. I can see this number of knuckles, or I can feel it in this part of my hand, or I'm getting this wear out here, or whatever. The lines go, whatever. Just make sure that you know that when your hands are on there, 95% of the time, you're in good shape. Okay? All right, Gregory.
From Hugh, can you dissect or break down the beginning of the takeaway?
I'm assuming this is going to be I
believe this is
full swing. Okay. So the beginning of the takeaway. So it gives you, if you could just give me a full one here. Yeah. So the beginning of the takeaway is this. I want you to feel like, and this is when I get this question, I always try to fault back to, I'm going to hit a pitching wedge. So yeah, great. So I always try to fall back to the simplest way to understand what I'm saying. So here's the way I like to see this or image this. I imagine that there's a mirror on the end of this club head that is facing back up to my chest. And when I move my chest, the mirror is always facing the chest. So when I go here, it's always doing that. Now, from there, so I've got some rotation with the body moving the club. the club is not down the line here, if you would. The club is not moving underneath me. The club is moving the same distance away from me. So make up the number, right? From that club head to my chest is 4 feet. So when I take the club back, it's 4 feet and facing my chest. If I take the club and I go here, it's not 4 feet and it's not facing my chest. So I like to do that, not quite to parallel, but close to parallel. And then from there, what I want to do is I want to feel the lift of my arm. So my hand, my trail hand is going to go up to my shoulder. So I want this club head to mirror my chest, stay same distance, and then right about here, not quite to parallel to the ground, but almost, that's when I want to lift those hands up, fold this trail arm. So it's here and then fold. And now the club is going to get into the position that I want. And it's going to feel slow. So it goes. And then what I'm going to get is I'm going to get a pretty good strike, pretty solid hit. He just put that out at 195 yards. My pitching wedge, I don't hit that far. So that's what you get. All right, let's go. Next one. Good question.
I think you can get it there.
Thank you.
From Lee. If you had to choose just one wedge to carry for sand shots, which wedge would you choose?
Vokey. No, I would say this. Probably 56. That's universally the most productive. I would go to 12 degrees of bounce. So 56-12 is probably the one that's going to be the best for you. There's so many variables that go into this, right? The distance the ball is traveling and the apex and the thickness of the sand and what's your property like when you're outside of the bunker and all that other stuff. But as a rule, 56-12 Vokey, that would be my suggestion.
This is
Wait, can we get an update? Can we get an update on what's going on in the golf? Okay.
Sure. Still, Jonathan Bird, John Rahm, Brendan Todd, these guys haven't gone off yet.
So 7 under is still leading.
Yes, but there's one player on the golf course, Andrew Novak, who's 2 under through 6. He has reached 7 under to join the leaders. And I'll get you a
Kevin Na?
I know who you're looking for. Kevin Na. He's 3 under through 12 on the day, 4 under total.
So he's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
okay.
He's doing pretty good.
All right.
And it looks like Gary Woodland has fallen to 3 under.
Okay.
But we'll find him a little later.
That's your pick.
That's my pick.
Okay. All right. Let's jump
back to Connor. A few simple pointers or basics to break 90. Mental, aiming, goals, etc.
Breaking 90. These are always fun. And if you're one of those people right now that doesn't have a difficult time breaking 90, but you're having a difficult time breaking 80 or breaking 75 or breaking par, this is applicable to everybody, because what you're talking about is you're talking about what I like to call threshold golf. And threshold golf to me is when you get to that threshold, how do you react? What happens to you? So how do we break through thresholds? Well, one of the things that you have to do is you have to make the moments smaller. One of the things that you have to do is you have to have a reliable go-to shot. So I like to hit cut shots. That's what I like to do. And if I don't play very often, I like to hit cut shots. And if I play often, I like to hit cut shots. So I stand up on the right side of the tee box, aim down the left side, and make sure that I've got the club in a position where I can hit a cut shot. And the way you break through these thresholds is you have to remove doubt and you have to remove your imagination. That doesn't mean that you remove your ability to visualize. It just means removing your imagination. Your imagination will run away from you. Your imagination will be the thing that has you already congratulating yourself for breaking the threshold. Your imagination will be the thing that's going to have you getting upset at yourself because you weren't able to break through. So you got to get rid of your imagination. You got to keep your visualization. What do I want to do with the shot? I want to hit a cut shot. And then go that way. Now, 70, 80, 90. These are the thresholds that are big thresholds, right? How do we play 70, 80, 90 golf? So here's what I would say, and I'll get to the 90 last. 70, I want you to still remain aggressive, but I want you to be smart about what you do. Wedge in your hand, I want you to take on a whole location. 7-iron in your hand, I don't want you to take on a whole location. I want you to hit it to the inside part of the green. So if it's a left flag, aim right. If it's a right flag, aim left. Okay? And put yourself in a position where you understand when you can be aggressive and when not. So that would be what I would tell you for 70. With 80, what you need to do with 80 is you need to make sure that you are thinking to yourself, pars and bogeys, pars and bogeys. And so what I like to do with 80 shooters is I like to separate into 6 3-hole pockets or groups. So I want to play 3 holes, 1 over. And if you play 3 holes, 1 over, and then the next 3 holes, 1 over, and the next 3 holes, 1 over, then when it's all said and done, you're going to be 6 over and you're going to break 80. With the 90 group, this is vital for you to make pars and bogeys. So start thinking about it. You have to play, if you do what we do with the 80s, you want to play in that, I'm going to call it 18 over. Okay? Now, 18 over means, well, that means I can play 3 holes in 3 over. Okay. Well, what if we do this? What if we now have 3 6-hole groups? And so now what we do is we play those 6 holes in 5 over. So that pretty much means that you sit down and you separate your scorecard and go, okay, these 6 holes, the first hole, I can make a par there. Second hole, I can make a par. And you start breaking down, like, what do you think you can do? And then once you get into that situation, you only focus on those 6 holes. Forget about what's happened before. Don't pay any attention to what's going on in front. 6 holes. You play those 6 holes 3 over. Great. Forget about it. Deal with these next 6. And then deal with the next 6. Don't read the newspaper. Don't give an interview. You haven't done it until it's done. My Yogi Berra. You haven't done it until it's done. And when you start to realize that, now all of a sudden you start to realize my tee shot on the 18th hole, my approach shot on the 18th hole, all these things matter. What you have to also do is realize that you don't have to hit the green. You come up the 18th hole, you don't have to hit the green. You got to get it close to the green, and then you got to get that shot on the green. You make bogey, and you're going to be fine. When you get into trouble is when you make double bogeys. So you keep your mind about you. Remember, hey, drive here, 3-wood here, or 5-iron here, or 7-iron, and then third shot on. Your most important shot is going to be the shot you hit onto the green with whatever it is. Your third shot, your second shot, that's your most important shot. If you miss the green, you got to get that shot on the green. Got to get on the green. You got to avoid double bogeys, okay? Very interesting question. All right, Gregory, we got time for one more?
Yeah, let's
all right, let's get one more.
This is a 2-for-1.
Okay.
For pitches and chips, do you weaken your grip to prevent the face from closing and get more consistency? And then this is also from Michael. For chips, do you take it away straight back, slightly inside to shallow, or have more of a rotary action?
Okay. So chip shots, to me, I'm not really so worried about the path of the golf club unless it's violently inside or violently outside. So if we go to a down the line here, what I would say is this. When you start going to a shot that is a little chip shot, you probably have a pathway that is 2 club heads. So 1 club head here, 1 club head here. So as long as this club is somewhat in this channel, when I'm hitting a chip shot, I'm going to hit a pretty good shot. Okay? Once it gets outside, back to that thing there, once it gets outside this channel in here or in here, that's when you're going to get into trouble. So give yourself about 2 club heads and put alignment sticks down. And then all you're going to do is make sure that that club is staying more or less in there. And if it stays more or less in there, you're going to be fine. It's not going to be a problem. Now, when it comes to the opening of the club face, I love opening up a club face. Club faces to me, when I'm hitting short shots, if I'm hitting a shot here, let's just say maybe a 40-yard shot. Okay.
By the way, I was asking about the grip as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the open face is going to lead to the grip.
Okay.
So if I'm hitting a shot of about 40 yards here, I'd love to take the club face and open the club face up. Now, there's two ways for you to do this, and they're affecting the grip both ways. One is to just leave it square and take your grip and rotate it over to the lead side like this. So if you go to a 1, if I take my grip and I just rotate it like that just a little bit, and then I get in here, now I have what is a normal grip, but the club face is open like this. And now I hit my shot. If I want to do it the other way, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just weaken my grip. So I have a square face, I weaken the grip, and now I come back in, club face is a little bit open. So you can either open the club face and grip it square, or keep it square and then weaken your grip. Doesn't matter to me which. But what I do love is an open club face. So what I like to do is I like to just set the club face down open and then put my grip on. So I'm going to open the face, grip it normally, and then I hit my shot. A little bit of spinaccio on that one too. So that's the way I like to do it. I don't like to grip it. I don't like to keep it square and grip it open and then put it in there. It just is too confusing for me. I like to set it open, grip it square. And in effect, what you've done is you've weakened your grip because you've weakened the club face. And that's all what you're really trying to do is you're trying to weaken club faces. That's what happened there. Okay. Okay. All right. You all know this. I say this to you all the time, but I can't do this without my two friends, Greg Ducharme and Steve Gibbs. So if you guys can, maybe you can back that out. Gibbsy, there you go. And then just give everybody a little, how you doing? There's Gibbsy. There's Greg. Those guys are the guys that really make all this stuff happen. I just happen to be the guy that's in front of the camera, but these guys are the guys that are really making all this stuff happen. So we really appreciate all the hard work that they do. And then you all being involved in this, we're hoping that you continue to tell people. We had an email that came in last week from somebody that was, believe it or not, in Thailand, had been here in the U.S. and moved over there, watched the New Breed of Golf Live and said, man, I would love if you can continue to do this for me. I miss seeing you on Golf Channel. Well, look, I'm still out there. All my stuff, we're still putting instructional stuff out there, and also too on CBS. And a reminder that we have a CBS show coming up on Saturday. Our course record show is going to be at 2:30 as it leads into that third round of the Mexico Open. But we're out there putting instructional tips on there for you to help you improve. So you can find them here on YouTube, also too on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. We're out there doing that. But I'm sort of urging you all, asking you all to tell your friends about it, because there are people that are still trying to figure out, hey, where did that Breed guy go? I learned a little bit from him and I'd like to know where he is. Just invite him. Tell him, hey, you know what? We've got one coming up. And we send out these little flyers, these emails and everything to let everybody know that what we've got going on. But please let everybody know, all your friends, hey, you want to learn a little bit? Come on over. Ask some questions. You get a little interactive. It's fun. So please let everybody know how much we appreciate it. And by the way, if anybody is interested in those poker chips, just send an email to me at anewbreedofgolf@michaelbreed.com. Let me know what color you want, the quantity you want. They're $6 a piece. That includes shipping and handling and also tax. Hope everybody has a great weekend. And reminder, the word of the day is enthusiasm. Bring some enthusiasm this weekend into everything that you do, whether it's your golf, your family life, whatever it is. Put some enthusiasm in there, and I'm telling you, you're going to have a great weekend. Hope everybody has a great weekend. And for all of us here on Michael Breed, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.